So this is a PC that was donated, and I don't know if it works, but I do know what's inside because it's got stickers all over it. We've got an i7, probably 2nd or 3rd gen, Windows 7 sticker, graphics by NVIDIA, and then on the side of this Acer machine, we've got a helpful little label that tells us what's in there. X3990, Windows 7 Home Premium, i7 2600, and NVIDIA GeForce GT 530, random amount of memory, 6GB, DDR3, 1TB hard drive. I've already taken this drive out as I needed it somewhere else, and apparently it had wireless LAN, but I'm not sure about that. It's likely that it has been upgraded at some point by someone, and so let's have a look what's inside and whether it works. If it does work, I do have a plan for this, which hopefully will work out. This looks like a standard backplate, standard size backplate. Oh yeah, we do have a little Wi-Fi card here, so let's have a look. Okay, so it's only got 2 RAM slots. That's a bit of a shame. Be nice if it had 4. That bit make it easier to upgrade the memory. Got a cooler there. We've got a little SSD drive sort of crammed down here that is super difficult to get out, and then I think we're gonna have, yeah, I can just about see there's another drive down there, so that's probably the 1TB drive. But let's see if it works. So I don't know if you can see this. This is the graphics card. It's sort of right up here. It's got a fan. It's quite dusty. I've plugged in keyboard, mouse, monitor, and I just need to plug in the power cable. And then press the power button. See if we get anything on the screen. We've got a beep. We've got Acer on the screen. Let's have a look in the BIOS. So 3.4 GHz, i7 2600. It's got 8 GB of RAM. The BIOS looks fairly basic. PC health, CPU temperature is 39 degrees, system temperature 21. Fan speed, voltages all look relatively fine. And it's set to boot from the Samsung drive, so let's exit, see if it boots up, and see if it successfully boots into something. Yep, looks like Windows is going to run. So my plan for this is to rehouse this into a full size case so that it can have a better graphics card, a full size graphics card, and then I can put together a really budget focused gaming PC of some kind, you know, the kind of thing that would play Roblox, maybe Rocket League if we're lucky, and maybe Minecraft. So this is quite interesting. It looks like there's a copy tool on here, Ultra Copier, which replaces the Explorer Copy Move tool. It's also got a bunch of things running on here, so it's constantly doing things. And the SSD drive is a Samsung 850 Evo 250 gig, so that's a good size drive. And then the second drive is a 2 terabyte drive, so again, a good size drive, and it looks like it's been upgraded at some point. It's also got 8 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, it's a working machine. It's interesting to see how it's been configured. It's running Windows 10, but I need to wipe this and reinstall Windows, and securely wipe the other drive as well. It does seem to be sort of making some interesting noises. I'll move the camera closer. I don't know if you can hear that. It definitely sounds like it's ramping the fan up a little bit, but there's also a slight whistle. That goes with the sort of fan noise. And this is all of the different parts. We've got the SSD drive, Wi-Fi adapter, graphics, GT530, 2 terabyte Western Digital green, the back plate, the power supply, which is a 220 watt power supply, which isn't really much use. It looks like standard ATX, but it's just got a couple of SATA and the PSU connector, so that can just be, I guess, if I ever need a spare power supply that doesn't actually need anything connecting to it. But this looks like it's should fit into a normal case, and we should be able to build this into a tower case. So this is the old, well, it's my old PC tower from my main machine, and I'm planning on changing to a different case, so I thought I may as well use this for this. And it's got a fan at the front, so that's intake, and I'm not going to be able to add more fans directly to the motherboard because it's got a CPU connector and then just one system fan. So fan can bring air in the front, and then the power supply can take the air out, and hopefully that should be fine. One thing I'll do before putting this into the case is replace the thermal paste on this. So this is the state of the thermal paste. It is very dry, and this also isn't a copper core heatsink, which is a shame, but the aim of this is to spend zero money on this system and getting a system up and running. I've also given this a quick brush to clear some of the dust, and now I'm going to put some thermal paste on. This answers the question, what happens if you put thermal paste onto a CPU when it's at an angle? Does the thermal paste slide off the bottom? The answer is no when using this thermal paste. Other thermal paste, probably a bad idea because it probably would potentially slide off. Oh, I also need to get rid of some of the dust from this, but I'll put this back on before doing that because I don't want dust to go onto the thermal paste. Turns out it was fairly easy to unclip this, so I've been able to clear all the dust away properly. And this is a Sunon Maglev 12 volt 4.4 watts fan, and it should just clip back on like that, and it's back. So let's put that into the case. So in with the back plate, make sure that's the right way around. That's in. Then the motherboard, and these should hopefully line up. Let's just check that. No, this one doesn't line up. Let me just double check that. So those three at the back line up. Oh wait, does that line up? No, there's one under here that doesn't line up. This one lines up, and these others line up, but there's one. I don't think this one lines up. Or does it? Let's try again. Oh, it does line up. It's just difficult to see with them being black. So those all line up, and I should be able to screw these in. That's all screwed in. Next we need the power supply. So I've got this old Cooler Master 460 watt power supply, and this should do the job because the last power supply was a 220 watt power supply. This is 460, and it's got two 12 volt rails, which means it should support a reasonable graphics card. And I think that's the sort of next step in this, is trying to find a good graphics card that would go with this system. The best spare graphics card I've got at the moment is an HD 7700. So that's not exactly impressive, but I think it will do for now, and then I will search for something better. Okay, that is screwed in. These silver things you might notice are soundproofing. These are car audio soundproofing panels, and I cut various pieces to add to this case because this is a Sigmatech case, I think, and it's a little bit flimsy, so adding this soundproofing added to the sort of strength of the case a little bit, but also helped keep it quieter by damping some of the sort of vibration of the metal. So let's plug in the various cables. That's clicked in place. We need the CPU. That's clicked into place. And we've also got a 6-pin for the graphics. So it's a bit odd, this power supply. It's got dual 12 volt rails, but only one connector for a graphics card, which seems a little limiting. Okay, so let's see if this system works in this new case with this power supply. I need to wire up the front panel connectors so that the power switch works. Another thing that you might have spotted if you've been paying attention in terms of this motherboard, we've only got the 2 slots there, but we've only got 2 SATA connections, so that's really limiting in terms of, do you want an optical drive in addition to your SSD drive, or if you want an extra storage drive, then you're going to need to disconnect this optical drive. I should have probably taken a photo of the connections before I disconnected them, but there's no guide to what these front panel connections actually are, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of trial and error on that to get that wired up correctly. It's got HDMI on here, but it's actually blocked, so I'm just going to put in the graphics card with HDMI for the time being so that we've got something to output to the screen. This isn't the final card that I'm planning on putting in here, but I do want to see that it's working. So I've plugged in the power cable. I'm going to switch this on, and then I'm going to short the power connector down here so that I can switch it on. I'm still not sure which one it is. There we go, it was this one there, so I can connect the power switch to that one. We've got the beep and we've got it on screen, so putting it into here, we've still got a working system. Power switch here. I've connected the front fan. I'm going to switch it on again. Yep, power button working. I need to work out the reset switch, which is probably next to the power switch, and the LEDs as well. And this front fan is quite loud. I wonder if there's any controls over the fan speeds. It doesn't. Oh, smart fan disabled. That doesn't give us anything. Smart fan enabled. Those are the options for the fan. I guess having airflow is better than not having airflow, but that fan has added quite a lot of noise to the system. Okay, so I may as well put in the best graphics card that I've currently got so that we can make sure it works. I always find these really fiddly. They seem to vary depending on machine. And this is the graphics card that I've got. It's a Radeon 7770 and requires 6 volts. I mean, not 6 volts, I mean a 6-pin power connector. Probably should switch the power off. Find a screw to screw it in. Okay, so that's screwed in. Let's switch it on. You can see that the fan on this is spinning because it blew some dust up. And then I'll install a fresh installer Windows from USB. This is a Windows 10 installer that lets you click, I don't have internet. And the main benefit of that is that you can simply set up a local account on the PC. And we're in Windows, so I'm going to connect to the internet and update drivers, and then we can test this and see how it performs, see if it works correctly, and yeah, see just generally what kind of performance we get from this, whether it's in any way acceptable as a kind of budget entry-level basic gaming machine, or whether we will need to find a replacement for this. I've got the graphics drivers installed. I'm going to run Heaven Benchmark, see what it's like in terms of performance, see what kind of frame rate we get. I'm not really that familiar with HD 7770 graphics cards, so yeah, let's find out together. I'm pretty sure I'm going to try and avoid spending money on this system. You know, it could be a basic office machine quite easily, or it could be a light gaming machine. Perhaps we're getting 20 frames per second, but you know, the minute you start spending money on this, you put in a better graphics card, you then realize you need to replace this memory because there's only 2 slots, so you would need 2 8 gig sticks to get up to 16. And then when you add another drive to the system, you realize there's only 2 SATA ports. So for me, spending money on this system might not be, well, I don't know. I don't need this PC. This PC isn't for me. So, you know, someone might buy this and think, oh, I'll use it as a storage system, and then they might put a large drive in it and they might not care about the graphics card, or they might decide they want to replace the graphics card and use it for gaming, etc. So it could go either way. You could spend money on this, but me spending money on it doesn't make much sense, because this could just be used as a basic office machine, and then what's the point putting in a better gaming graphics card in it? You know, so yeah, I think leave it as it is. Let the person who's buying it do what they want with it. They could upgrade the graphics if they want. They could stick in a second drive if they want, you know, but it's a bit limiting. There's no slots for more memory. There's limited SATA ports. So yeah, maybe this is just destined to be a basic office machine. But it's running reliably. We're getting 25 frames per second. And I'll show you the results when this finishes. So it got an average of 27 frames per second. That's a score of 690. Minimum frames per second 7, maximum frames per second 56, and that was running at 1080p. So if you ran this at a lower resolution, you'd get better performance, and you know, that might make some games playable. Let's just have a very quick look at Quake 3. Run it at high quality, 800 by 600. And that was 688 frames per second. This is CPU-Z. So it's a 4-core processor with 8 threads. This is the main board. It's an H61 chipset. DDR3 running in dual channel. This is the graphics HD7700 series. Here's the CPU-Z CPU benchmark score. 1725 multi-threaded and 358 single core. This is a processor that turbos up to 3.5 gigahertz in this system, and the temperatures seem relatively well controlled. We've got a maximum of about 64 degrees C, and then it idles at a much lower temperature. So this is the CPU score from performance test, the pass mark score of 4421. You know, that's what you get from an i7 2600. And overall, I think we've probably got a system that's good enough for who it's for, as bike farmer would say. This is just a basic machine that is up and running and has a bit more potential now that it's out of that tiny case. We've given it a new lease of life. I mean, it's not gonna be entirely amazing, but it's saved it from going to e-waste, and perhaps someone can get some more life out of it. There's a few more bits left to do inside the case in terms of cabling. I need to connect this optical drive and do some cable tidying and make sure that all these USB connections are plugged in. But overall, this is a reasonable looking machine, and yeah, this is the case. It's quite a basic case, but looks reasonable enough, and these are all sort of vented, so airflow should be good enough. Yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you would have done with this system. As you know, there are a few limitations, but I know you're probably going to complain that I've put Windows 10 on here, but I think what I'll probably do is make sure all the drivers are properly working on here and then upgrade it to Windows 11. Whoever has this, they've got the option of putting whatever they want on it, but Windows 11 gives people something they're familiar with, and yep, I know that that's not going to be a popular decision, but yeah, this is probably just going to be used for browsing the web and things like that, maybe some gaming. But if you don't have Windows, then people are going to be put off. But that's probably a discussion for a different video. Thanks for watching. Bye. I forgot to mention how much power it uses. It uses about 43 watts when it's idling, and then it uses about this much when the CPU is in 100% load. So that's 107 watts. That's using CPU Z. And it's using about 107 watts when it's running the graphics card benchmark, so perhaps that isn't loading the CPU at 100%. If you set this to 720p, you get around 50 frames per second or more, so yeah, this would be probably reasonable at 720p gaming.